This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
What's up, everybody? Ricky Widmer here, along with the one, the only, Brandon Swanee Swanson.
Dub them No.
Yeah, that's what Mark usually says.
Yeah, I'm not Mark.
No, you're not. You're Brandon.
Oh, wow.
People are probably going to be confused. They're going to be like, I just watched the Primetime Podcast. I expect to see Ricky and Mark. Where's Mark? Do not worry. This is going to be something that people are going to be used to seeing for 3 weeks. This is one. We got 2 weeks after
you better
this.
Like it.
Mark is in Milwaukee for the week. So Mark was like, hey guys, I can't be on the onside kick. Brandon said, don't worry, bro. I got you back. I will be the co-host to Ricky, the Robin to Ricky's Batman for the onside kick this week.
That's exactly how I said it.
And thank you for doing so. We're going to be, first off, welcome into the onside kick here on Most Valuable Podcast. Ricky Widmer, Brandon Swanson, giving you all the greatest insight and news from the NFL. And Brandon, we got some great topics heading into this one. Going to be talking Rams, going to be talking Jaguars. Who would have thunk that we're talking Jaguars, seriously? We're also going to be talking about the Oakland Raiders, a topic that you brought to the table, which is very interesting. And then we'll make our Week 4 picks at the end of the podcast. Your first time making NFL picks on the onside kick. But let's get right into it. We're going to start with the LA Rams. And the Rams right now sit with a record of 2-1, could be 3-0. Their only loss, a 27-20 loss to the Washington Redskins in Week 2. A phenomenal game. Surprisingly phenomenal game. They play against the 49ers last Thursday in San Fran. They completely blew out the Indianapolis Colts in Week 1. I have one simple question for you when it comes to the Rams, Brandon. Could the Rams win the NFC West this year? Because right now they sit at the top.
I would say that the answer to that is yes. And the reason why I say that is because have you seen the Seattle Seahawks lately? I mean, and I don't want people to say, well, look, I mean, Russell Wilson came alive this past week. He had over 330 yards. He had 3 touchdowns. He did. Yes, so? That was in quote unquote, fantasy football owners will know, garbage time. That's when he got a lot of those points, when they were well out of the game. The game score was a lot closer than what the game actually was. The Tennessee Titans took them to task. I mean, the Titans played very, very well against the Seattle Seahawks. Simple as that, in Tennessee. So the Seattle Seahawks, outside of this past week, where they finally started to seem like they maybe got some things going offensively, have been non-existent offensively. And then you look at the San Francisco 49ers, they were actually able to give the Rams a game on Thursday night, which was really interesting because I didn't think Thursday night football games were supposed to be good. But 41-39 was the final score there. The Rams hung on. And then you look at the Arizona Cardinals. That team has been up and down. Carson Palmer has been good, then he's been terrible. I think that the Rams have a very good chance to continue on this roll that they're going on. And I think they also have a good chance to be able to win the NFC West.
Well, and the thing that I look at is, first off, I want to say, when it comes to the Rams and can they win the NFC West? Yes. Do I think they will win the NFC West? No. The reason why is I think this year, based off of, and predictions now thrown out the window 3 weeks into the season, 49ers are going to be in the cellar. I think it's going to be the Rams and the Cardinals fighting for second and third. Right now, I would say Rams at second, finishing second in the division, Cardinals finishing third. The thing I want to point out about the Seahawks, and I think the Seahawks will get it going. The big question about them is their offensive line. But the thing you have to keep into consideration right now is, so far through 3 games, they have done exactly what you can expect the Seahawks to do. So far, under Pete Carroll, in September road games, now with the 2 that we have played, the Seahawks are 2-11 on the road in September. They were 2-9 coming into the year. That's just basic math, Brandon. 2-9. You had 2 more losses. You're now 2-11 in September on the road. They lose at Green Bay. They lose at Tennessee. They win at home against the 49ers. That, to me, I look at that and I go, we expect that. Let's see what happens when this team starts to roll when it gets later into the season. However, that being said, the Rams could win the division. You know, you like how I said that there? I don't think they will, but they could. And the reason being the firepower that they have on offense. This Rams team seems to have all the right pieces, at least right now, clicking for them. Last year, we knew that they had a good defense. However, Jared Goff didn't play most of the year, didn't look good when he was out there. Now he has an offensive-minded coach that knows how to use him. He's got Todd Gurley behind him that is running very well right now, and he's got an explosive weapon, mainly in Sammy Watkins. Right now, if he can stay healthy, Sammy Watkins through 3 games looks like a steal for the Rams in that trade with the Buffalo Bills. That, to me alone, gives the Rams an opportunity to win the division. I just think in the long term of things, how is this team going to hold up? And you got to think of it this way. Think of it as a race. This isn't the NFL season isn't a sprint. We're not sprinting to the end. It's a 17-week marathon with 16 games. The Seahawks, we've seen this before. We've seen like early in the year, we think, whoa, the Rams are going to win the division. They just beat the Seahawks, and they're now ahead of the Seahawks in the division. But who wins the division in the end? The Seahawks. So right now I'm thinking they could, but right now I still think Seattle will end up as the division winner in the end.
Well, here's what I'll tell you is the fact that the Los Angeles Rams, you look at their quarterback, Jared Goff, he already looks leaps and bounds better than any game that he played last year.
I'll credit that. Jared Goff also to himself, but mostly to that coaching. When you get a quarterback, a coach that understands you and understands an offense to put around you, you can be successful in that.
So McVay's done a great job. He has done an outstanding job, and he's a very offensive-minded guy.
Yeah.
Jared Goff has been very good. I mean, so much so he's only thrown 1 interception so far this season, and he's been sacked 3 times through 3 games. That's a sack a game. Very simple. But then Todd Gurley, how big was it for him to be back to form this year? He's back to form and then some. That's how good Todd Gurley has been this year. 6 total touchdowns already. That is so impressive. That is so good. I mean, that's putting him in company with Marshall Faulk, with guys like that, through just a couple of games, through 3 games to start this season. And then I agree with you. Sammy Watkins has been very good, especially in this game this past week. They need to get him more involved. Sammy Watkins also needs to stay healthy because that's been his biggest thing. He's been injured every year. I mean, dude, come on. Robert Woods, he needs to get involved. Todd Gurley's been very involved in the passing game. Guys like Cooper Kupp, they need to be consistently involved. I think that's one of the things that when you look at the Rams and when they were the St. Louis Rams, I mean, remember the Torrey Holtz,
the greatest show on turf,
and guys like that,
and Isaac Bruce,
and Isaac Bruce. I knew I was forgetting someone. And
Ricky
Isaac Bruce. Pearl. Where's that been? You know, where have guys like that been? That's where this receiving core needs to get into. They don't necessarily need to be the likes of Torrey Holt, but they need to be guys that are going to perform and show up each and every week, because there's too many times in the past where the Rams, they can't get anything going because they have no receivers to throw it to. You know, that's been part of the problem, is they've had such inconsistency at the wide receiver position, and they haven't been able to get that guy. That guy right now could be Sammy Watkins, but he cannot be injured. He was taken in at the end of the game on Thursday for concussion protocol. You know, obviously some of those things you can't control, but it's it's so important to be able to stay healthy, stay in a good rhythm with your quarterback, and then produce each and every game. Does that mean that you're going to win every single game? No, but does that mean that you're going to be able to stay competitive and stay in each and every game? Hopefully, yes. Now I want to move on really quickly to the Seattle Seahawks. We talked a lot about just now about how the I almost said the St. Louis Rams, how the Los Angeles Rams are good and why they're good so far to start the season. You can throw defense into there too. They've been pretty solid defensively.
Yeah.
But look at Seattle. Look at what they've got. They've got Russell Wilson, a very good quarterback. But then their running game. They've now got this Chris Carson guy who maybe is going to be something, but we don't know. They brought on Eddie Lacy. He's just overweight and hurt all the time. You know, that's no good. Then you've got another guy there in Thomas Rawls, hurt all the time. He's no good. So Chris Carson's your guy. Then you look at the receiving core. You've got Doug Baldwin, who just a couple of years ago broke out and was a receiving machine and a touchdown machine. So far hasn't done much to start the season. Then you got Paul Richardson. You trade away Jermaine Kearse. You got Jimmy Graham, who you never freaking use. This Seattle team, offensively, is such a sore spot for them because they, again, kind of like the Los Angeles Rams, outside of Doug Baldwin, who's your guy? Who's your receiving threat? Who's your receiving threat? I mean, just cover up Doug Baldwin, make sure he doesn't get the football. Then who are you going to go to? Who are you going to go to? I mean, you know, Russell Wilson was able to pass the football around on Sunday towards the end of the game when it didn't really matter anymore. But who are you going to go to? They have the trading for Jimmy Graham has in my mind been so stupid.
Well, because you gave up your center to do it.
You gave up Max Unger.
Yep, Max Unger.
You give up Max Unger to do that. The Saints, you know, to that. Oh, okay.
You give up Jermaine Kearse this offseason to get Sheldon Richardson.
You just right now, if you're the Seattle Seahawks, it's just not being put together offensively. Defensively, for the most part, you're pretty darn good. But if you look at their offense, though, it's not an offense, quite honestly, that's built to win the division. They will not win the division if they win it based on their offense. They just won't do it. They're not built that way. So if they win it, it's because of their defense.
Here's the thing I'm looking at, and both for the Seahawks and to get back to the Rams, because they're the main team that we're focusing on here. The next 3 games for both teams will be very telling for what kind of team they will be in the future. First, I'll start with the Seahawks because that's who you were talking about. Their next 3 games, they have a bye in between the second and the third one, but I'll go next 3. They get the Colts this week. Come on.
The Andrew Luck-less Colts.
Come on. Really? You think Jacoby Brissett's going to do anything against that defense?
And do you know?
Really?
Do you know that is the Sunday night NBC game?
Probably won't watch it.
What a thriller.
Yeah, might not watch it. However,
now that I've said that, it'll be close.
Then we've got week 5, the Ram game in St. Louis. That's going to be a tough one for both teams.
They're going back to St. Louis to play this one?
Or for LA. LA, thanks for the correction. And then with Seattle, they get a bye. Then they go to New York to play the Giants. The Giants could be 0-5 by that point with the way that they're playing right now. And that's why I like the Seahawks schedule in their 3. Colts and Giants, I think right now they can win. That Ram game is a toss-up, especially how the Rams are playing. You know who the Rams have? This next week, they got the Cowboys.
They've got the Cowboys.
Ooh, that's tough.
In Jerry World.
Oh, that's tough.
And we just saw...
Especially after the game they had against the Cardinals.
I was just going to say, we just saw how well that the Cowboys played against them, and Dak Prescott is... I mean, he's absolutely the real deal. Des Bryant came back onto the scene. I mean...
they weren't going up against Denver's defense.
No, I mean
that's the main thing.
Well, that's true, but I'm still saying though too is I want to give the credit to the Dallas offense because they came back alive again too. I mean they were held down, but they didn't play well against Denver.
Yeah.
They just didn't play well. So they did play well against the Cardinals, and it's a very tough matchup.
I mean, even having the Des Bryant, there was a play yesterday on Monday night where he was fighting for some extra yards. There was one Zeke getting into the end zone. The Dak kind of, I'm going to jump over you into the end zone. I don't know. That one I'm kind of toss up on, but right now I think that's going to be a really tough game for the Rams. Then the Seahawks-Ram game. We know how those go. The Rams could win that game. They usually win the first meeting between them and the Seahawks. And then week number 6, they go on the road to play. And here's the interesting thing. We're going to talk about this team in the next segment more in depth, but they go into Jacksonville to play a Jacksonville team that, I mean, the good thing for the Rams here, it's an even week. And so far with how the trend has gone for Jacksonville, they play really good in the odd weeks and not so good in the even weeks, getting the big games against the Texans and the Rams in week 1 and week 3. But that could be even a tough game going into Jacksonville against that defense that made Joe Flacco look horrible this past week in London.
No, it's not an easy schedule. In the next couple
and I'm just
in the
talking
next
about
couple
those
of
next
weeks.
3. Yeah.
No, I know. You're right, but it's those next 3. They're not easy.
No,
they're not easy,
especially for the Rams
by any means. But I think it's going to be very interesting to see just how they're able to play, and if they play anything like they did this past week against the 49ers. And I know that the final score was close. But the Rams played well defensively. I mean, Brian Hoyer's first pass of the night, pick. And then Gurley. And it could have been more. And then defensively, the Rams did a really good job of holding Carlos Hyde out of the end zone on a number of tries.
Yeah.
From right down at the 2, right down at the 3, at the 1. They did a nice job.
And then defending the little outside pass on the 2-point conversion to seal the win.
They did a lot of good things. They gave up 39 points, but they did a lot of good things. It's going to be so important for the Rams moving forward. If you can win. So you go into Dallas. That's a really tough one. I'm not going to even say what I think on that one yet. We'll do that for when we have the picks. But if you could win that game at home against Seattle, which Seattle historically in the last couple of years has not played well against the Rams, and the Rams have actually gotten them a couple of times, I mean, that could be one of those 9-6 games the Rams win on field goals. I mean, it could be. It definitely could be. So that's what I think is going to be a very interesting game. If you're able to get that one, that's going to be huge to get things going.
Well, and I mean, for the Rams, the big thing I'm looking for, best case scenario, I'm looking to steal 2 of the next 3. Steal 2 of the next 3. That'll put you at 4-2. And then depending on how the Seahawks go, even if the Seahawks go undefeated and theirs and beat you, that's the one loss that you have. You're both 4-2 after 7 weeks of the season. Because the Seahawks would have the bye. That next 7th game for the Rams, though, the Cardinals. So that's a very winnable game for them as well. Like then that's the thing. The next 3, it's funny. The next 3 after those hard games, Cardinals, winnable game at home, then the bye, then the Giants on the road, very winnable game on the road, and then you get the Houston Texans, which is a winnable game. Also, you get to see the rookie quarterback against the sophomore quarterback. Then they kind of go back and forth with some hard opponents, some easy opponents, some hard opponents again. The Rams season is going to all be how can you do against those challenging games and can you get business done against the easy games. So far, through 3 games, I think they've gotten business done against the teams they should have beat. Washington was an interesting one. Close game. But Washington's a good team. Kirk Cousins knows what he's doing out there. And plus, when you've got a weapon like Thompson out there that's been absolutely surreal for them, that's just a loss. You just got to say, you know what? They got the better of us in that one.
I think that if you take a look at the game against Washington, you really need to take a look at that very closely. I know you were at home and you lost to Washington 27-20, but look at what Washington did to the Oakland Raiders this past week. They ripped them to shreds.
Yep.
They made one of the best quarterbacks and the second highest paid quarterback in the league look like a rookie in the worst way. So let's just give Los Angeles credit.
You don't need to rub it in, Brandon. I had Derek Carr on my fantasy team.
I had him on one of my fantasy teams,
and I had
too.
Amari Cooper. You don't have to rub it in.
I had him on one of my fantasy teams and Lynch on another one. The one that I had Lynch on, thankfully I was able to squeak out the win.
We'll get to Lynch later, though.
But here's my point, is that you did a good job of, 27-20, and you had chances to win that one. So far, I've been very happy with what I've seen from the Los Angeles Rams. It seems like a revived team. It seems like a team that's got a new energy, a new life, and I'd love to see that going forward. And because of that, I think that they have to be considered to be maybe not a favorite, but certainly a team that could go and win this NFC West. Yeah. It's open. It's open for them.
Right now, I am sitting with the belief of if you really press me, gun to the head, I'm picking the Seahawks to win the division. However, I'm not saying that the Rams don't have a chance. The Rams definitely have a chance when it comes to this division. However, I know it is still early in the season.
I mean,
we got to see.
We're only going to week 4 right now.
And here's another interesting point. And I know we're only through 3 games. 2 points. First off, the Rams are the only team in the NFC West with a positive point differential of 32 points. Most of that is because of that Colt game, let's be honest.
But still,
however, the one thing that's interesting, and I know we're only through 3 games, when Jared Goff throws an interception, the team loses. When he stays clean, they win. I mean, that's just plain and simple. Don't turn over the football, you'll win the game.
But I was going to say, that's how it is for most teams. If you cannot turn the football over, if you can win the turnover battle and win in the turnover margin, that is most likely going to lead to a result in a win for your team. But again, Jared Goff has looked really good, leaps and bounds better than what he looked last year. But last year's team was kind of so tumultuous, and there was all this
79
stuff,
bullshit, baby.
There was all this stuff around what's
Jeff
his
Fisher.
face? Yeah, Jeff Fisher. I thought his first name was Jeff. Couldn't think of the last name. But all I saw was a Nissan Stadium in my head. But I think that they have now put that all behind them, and they're really in a better spot. I think the biggest thing is Todd Gurley. They needed him to bounce back. He certainly has to start in the first 3 games. If he can keep going like he's going right now, that's going to be very, very helpful for them and really could help open up that passing attack, which is why I think just because they're going into Dallas and just because it's, the Dallas Cowboys, and the Cowboys have been good minus that Denver game, don't write off the Rams because they've got a good running game. If Jared Goff stays, pretty clean, no interceptions, stuff like that, we have ourselves a game in Dallas.
Well, and this is where you guys come in. Let us know down below. What do you guys think? Will the Rams win the division? Could they win the division? And let us know what you guys think for their upcoming schedule. How do you think they will fare? Let us know down below in the comment section.